Hi everyone, my name is Jen Patrick and I am your Stampin' School instructor for this week. And my goal today is to show you all about irresistible cardstock and why it should be an add to cart item that you cannot resist. Let's get started. Okay, so here is the catalog, and on page 116 you will find in the bottom corner here the Irresistible Designs Specialty DSP. It is listed as 6 sheets to each of 3 single-sided designs, includes UV coating for $10. Now, this is a sleeper item. You don't even know it's here unless you really know what irresistible cardstock is. So on this page, you also will see this little image here, right here, where they blended some ink onto the leaf designed paper and used it on the background of a card. But let's be real, who dissects the catalog that closely to see that this is what the Irresistible DSP is going to do? So when you're looking at the catalog, it's one of those items that you're just going to overlook unless you know what it is. And so I want to show you what it is. Okay. Now here's how it comes. It comes in this package like this. It's got the chipboard in the background and it's labeled Irresistible DSP. It comes packaged like so, and then like I said, there's 2 sheets of each design, so you get 6 sheets for $10. Okay, so let's dive in a little deeper. Now I have opened mine up and sliced and diced, and I always put my DSP and all my papers in these 13 by 13 zip top bags. It's just how I like to store them, and so this is what's left of my very first package. I'm going to show you the pattern, and hopefully the light will catch the UV coating. There we go. So this one is the leaf pattern. This is one of the patterns in the package. And when we talk about irresistible, there is UV coating in a pattern. So the UV coating is going to resist color, and the cardstock below it or alongside it is going to take in the color, and that's where the magic is truly going to happen. So this is a leaf pattern. This one here is like a plaid. It's like a double-lined plaid pattern. And then the third one in the pack is this beautiful floral, which is like hibiscus. So it goes great for any kind of like tropical type projects. So these are the 3 patterns that we have to work with. And I want you to think of these as additional DSP or an additional pattern paper that you can add to any of your projects. Okay. So I want you to think about how you create. How do you start a project? What gets you creatively sparked? Okay. There's 3 different things I'm going to show you here. And in these 3 cards, I have used each of the Irresistible DSP in different ways. Okay. This first card here, I use the Sunrise Sailing bundle. And when I was creating this card, I started with the Color Coach. And the Color Coach will give you your primary color that you want to work with, and then it will give you like 2 other colors that coordinate with it. So I'm pretty sure when I was working with this one, I was starting with pecan pie, and I wanted 2 colors that would kind of go together in the color scheme to make this card. And so it came up with Pretty Peacock, which is the background cardstock here, and then I also used it on the cardstock here. And then it gave me Pool Party, I'm pretty sure. Pool Party. And so what I did is I took a piece of the diamond patterned DSP, Irresistible DSP, and I ink blended the Pool Party color directly onto it, and then I cut it at the diagonal to use it on my card. Okay, so I needed some kind of a pattern on this card, but I couldn't find anything in any of the current DSP collections and any of the suites or anything that I liked that would go with this design that I was working with. And so this was an opportunity for me to pull in the Irresistible DSP and make it into a pattern paper that a colorful pattern paper that went with the design. Okay, so I started with the color coach for this card. For this card here, I was working with the Peaceful Gardens suite, and I wanted to, one of the colors in that suite is Pecan Pie, but there is no DSP in the pack that has the Pecan Pie as like a focal color. You can see a tiny bit of it in the stems here, but I wanted to use cardstock, and I just wanted to use a pop of that color so that it wasn't all tone on tone blues. And so I grabbed just a little tiny strip of the leaf pattern, Irresistible, and I ink blended with Pecan Pie, and I added it as just a little accent to my card. So I took the rest of it and I put it inside here so that you could see when I ink blended it. So I just kind of started on one end. I cut like a little strip. I started on one end and I ink blended, and so you can see how like the brush kind of ended here. And then I just cut it to the size that I wanted, and I used it on this card. Okay. So this one I was working with a DSP, and I just needed another pattern in a specific color to go with my project, and that's when I pulled in the Irresistibles. For this project, I was working specifically with this pattern because I had already used the plaid and I had already used the leaf, and I wanted to use this pattern. And so I thought it went perfectly with the Happy Hibiscus bundle. And so I pulled in the dies, and I cut some of the little flowers with those. And I think the stamp and the circle piece are also from the Happy Hibiscus set as well. But I wanted to use this this floral DSP. So what I did is I just took a strip of it. I also wanted to try this fault line torn paper card as well. So I started with a strip of the paper, and I used 3 colors. I used, they're all 3 on here. So I used Peach Pie, Pretty in Pink, and then Melon Mambo, and all 3 colors are also represented on this card. So I have the Melon Mambo card base, I have the Peach Pie little flowers, and then the Pretty in Pink flowers there. I also stamped in Melon Mambo. And so for this one, I just used blending brushes in 3 colors, and I just kind of like put some color on, and then I put some other color on, and I just kind of blended it all together. And this is kind of, I mean, it's hard to see because it's not a big piece, but that's kind of where I ended up with this one. And so I just had a little peek of it showing through, but this is the part that I cut off. So I wanted to show you that there's more of the colors in there as well. Okay, for my scrapbookers, I have 3 more projects to show you, and then I'm also going to show you, as part of these projects, how to actually add your ink to your Irresistible DSP, and a couple of different techniques that go along with that. But as I show you this first project, I was working with the Weekend Adventures suite or kit or whatever you want to call it, the paper pack and sticker sheet. And for this one, I had a layout I was working on, and instead of adding in the stickers from that sheet, I kind of looked at the colors and I thought, you know what, this would really go well with my son's baseball team. With the blues, the greens kind of led towards like the, you know, the field and things like that. And then the Cajun craze in this suite reminded me of this team he's playing on right now. He's in Canada, and so I quickly kind of switched gears from the Weekend Adventures, the outdoorsy theme, and kind of made it into a baseball layout. So what I did here is I pulled in some embellishments from my stash, and then I needed a title. And I went to the new Party Alphabet die cuts, and I thought I could bring in the Irresistible DSP. I blended on the Cajun Craze ink, and then I cut out the letters, and then I used them as the beginning of the Harbor Cats, which is the name of the team. And so I added that on there. I thought it was the perfect little edition. And if you're anything like me and you have kids that are in school and you have kids that play sports stuff and school stuff is really hard. It's really hard for me. And so I always am looking for colors and patterns, and that's where the Irresistible DSP comes in so nicely. So I'm gonna skip to the next one right here, because this one is another example of that. And this is a single page layout, and this is my son from his senior year. And the school colors were cardinal and gold, and then also some black and gray and white. And so I always struggle with doing sports layouts. And that's when the DSP, the Irresistible DSP, becomes like just a staple in your stash, because you can make it whatever color you want to go with whatever school theme, team that you need. Okay, so for this layout, it's going to become a part of a 2-page spread, and the second page I haven't even started it yet, but I'm going to pull in these 3 right here are the 6x6 designer series paper from the Regal color family from last year. So this year's are different patterns, but these are the ones from last year. So I pulled these in because I thought these went great with the colors and what I needed. And then the black is from my stash, and obviously this baseball paper is like super old and from my stash. And a lot of times these sports papers that you find like in the stores or online, they don't really go with anything. And so using them is really hard, but I thought it just kind of like in small doses, they work. Like if I would have used it in a strip, it would have worked perfectly. But I needed some gray, and I did not have any gray DSP that worked for me. So what I did, and I'm going to show you this before I show you the last layout, is I took a strip, and I'm going to actually use this for the second page. So I'm just going to put this in here, kind of move this to the side. I took a strip of the plaid DSP. Okay, you can see the pattern on there. And then I took my Stampin' Spot in gray granite, and I added color directly onto the cardstock like this. So I just started adding it on, swiping it. Both directions, doesn't really matter. So I did all across. Now this is not like as saturated as this one here. So then what I did is I just kind of went the other direction and kind of went back and forth. And it turns out quite dark to start with, but then when the color like sinks into the cardstock, it's going to smooth out. You're not going to see all these little kind of fuzzy areas, and it just blends together and softens very, very nicely. So when the color, and then I can go in a circular motion as well, just to make sure I don't crinkle the paper. But I'm just saturating the color directly onto the cardstock there. And that is how I did that one. So you can take your ink spots and you can add color directly to your cardstock. Now I have baby wipes. I'm just kind of wiping up my glass mat there, and I'm going to rub it directly onto the cardstock. And what that does is it just takes whatever ink is left on that resisting pattern, just kind of wipes it right off there. So when this dries, it's gonna look, I don't want you to see my next project yet. It's gonna look like that. Okay, so it does dry a little bit lighter and a whole lot smoother. Okay, so I'm going to use this piece on my next page, my other side of this. Okay, so this is a single page. Now, once I started playing, I could not stop, you guys. And so I had to, because I had to do this video. I had to record for you. But this is where I went next. Okay, I love this one. I had some of the Ocean Friends. I have lots of bits and pieces here. I'm going to show you. This is the layout that I created, and I'm going to make a second page that goes with it. But where I started was I was thinking that I wanted to use the Ocean Friends DSP to make a layout, but I wanted to use this pattern to make a title. I was going to cut with the party alphabet a title to go up here. And I started playing with the ink blending and I decided I loved it so much that I wasn't going to do that, and I was going to actually add it to the layout. So here's where I started. I started by, let me move this out of the way for a second. I started by ink blending, and this is the same technique I used for the card I showed you a little bit earlier. Oh, the card is right here. This is the same technique I used for this one, okay, just different colors. And I ink blended Lemon Lime Twist and Summer Splash, and then when they blend together, they create that, like, I don't know, like more of a tealy green, okay? So it started off with the Lemon Lime, Summer Splash, and when they blend together in the center, they create like a third color. But I didn't like the way this looked kind of splotchy to me, especially if I was going to use it in kind of a longer strip on my layout. So I went back and I decided to do it in an ombre effect, meaning I did green at the bottom and this, Lemon Lime Twist at the bottom, and then the Summer Splash at the top. And then in the center, it blended together to make that like third color. Okay. So this is where I started with it. And then I decided, I don't love it. And this is where I ended up. Okay, so this is the first page, and obviously I still have to do a title and, you know, some journaling and maybe some more embellishing. But this is going to be the second page, and I'm going to, it's going to look like this. So I've glued down the white pieces in my photo mats, and of course I put the glue on the wrong side of that one, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just a photo placeholder. So this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to do the ink blending on here with you so you can see what that looks like in the ombre effect. So I am going to, this is another technique. You use your ink, your blending brushes, and your ink pads. So I'm going to start with Lemon Lime. I always like to start with my lighter color. And I'm going to go like on half. I'm going to try to do half. So I go in a circular motion, and I'm holding it close to the head so that I get a lot of pressure on the blending brush here. And I'm starting on the outside of my project. So I'm starting off the paper and working my way onto the paper. So this is good for now. Now we're going to take Summer Splash, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm actually going to flip it over and kind of, let's kind of just wipe this off. I have a little cloth thing over there. And we're going to start off the project, and we're going to work our way on. And the more color you add, the more you do this, the darker it's going to get. And as you're doing your little circular motion, it's actually going to buff off the excess color on the resist, on that like embossed part. Okay, so I did both colors, but now I want to come back and just add a little bit more green on the edge there. And I feel like this one has a lot of green. So I'm going to go back on this side with my Summer Splash, and I'm going to try to get darker on the end and try to get it a little closer here so I can get that third color blending. So I'm trying to move it closer to the middle. Keeping in mind that I am going to cut this pattern paper, this DSP, this is 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to cut it at 1/2 inch right here. And I'm just trying to get it like as dark as the one before, which I'm not even going to line it up to see, but that's where we're at. So here is my DSP that is going to be cut for this part of the layout. Oops, move the card. And it's going to go right there. So I'm going to cut it at 1/2 inch because that's how these ones are. And then they're going to sit like this. It's actually going to be swapped when I have the layout. So it's not quite done, but you get the idea that this is going to be the companion page. That's going to be cut at 1/2 inch. And then There we go. So this, and then I have lots of like bits and pieces that I can still work with from leftover from Friends of the Ocean dies and things like that. So this is my final project to show you. Okay, and the very last thing I wanted to show you is just a couple other ways to add color to your Irresistible Designs cardstock. So this first one here is the leaf pattern, and I used the the light Misty Moonlight Stampin' Blends marker. And I liked how smooth it went on the cardstock. However, it did kind of seep into the design a little bit more than I would have liked. So I'll just show you what that looks like. I took the brush tip and just kind of brushed it over the design. And then I took my cloth and kind of tried to wipe it off, but it was kind of already trying to seep into the design there a little bit. So that's one way that you could use it. A second one here, I took my Stampin' Write marker in Fresh Freesia, and I did the same thing. I used the brush tip and just added color to the design. And this one, because of the way the markers are, you could see a lot of the brush stroke of the marker, which I didn't like, but it didn't seep into the design like it did with the Stampin' Blends. So I don't know, you could kind of tell me which one you think is better. And then the last way that I want to show you today is that you can use your ink pad with a water brush to add color. So this is Secret C, and I just squeezed the pad together to put a pool of ink in the base there. And then using my water brush, I'm just going to pick up some of that color there. And it's like watercolor, right? So you're just going to color it right onto your cardstock. I really like this technique. It gives it very much that watercolor look. Up at the top there, I did it very light. This is a little bit darker of a color. And then we're going to come in with our cloth and just kind of wipe off the resist there. And I think this is really fun. So this would actually look really great on the flower pattern. I think that would be really, really beautiful to use with the flower pattern. But I think of all the three of these, I like this one the best. So I showed you ink blending. I showed you direct to paper with an ink spot, which we did in the gray. This is your water brush with ink, and then your Stampin' Write marker and your Stampin' Blends. Tell me in the comments which of these techniques you plan to use first. I hope I have been able to take the Irresistible Pattern DSP and make it an add to cart item that you truly are not able to resist. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.